Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Clutch Conversations. It's your boy Mike back at you one more again, live on another Thursday night, man. How y'all doing? How y'all doing, man? Welcome to the place to be, man. Appreciate y'all sliding through. We got a good show, man, coming up tonight. But first and foremost, make sure you show my lovely wife Takara some love in the comments, man. Make sure y'all drop some love, man. She always holding us down, man. So definitely show her some love in the chat. Don't stop there. Make sure you show the channel some love as well. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and Hulk smash that notification bell so you can get notifications each and every time we drop a video here on the channel. Let's take care of a few housekeeping things real quick. Make sure you're following us everywhere you can find us. You can find us on Morph Market. You can find us on Instagram, 2 pages, Herp Collectors Network. Make sure you follow them both. Check us out on Facebook and also check us out on major podcasting platforms. You can find Clutch Conversations as well as all the shows on the Herp Collectors Network on major podcasting platforms. So definitely make sure you're checking us out. Be sure to follow, rate, and review. We really appreciate that, man, and appreciate the support. Speaking of support, make sure you're supporting both USARK and USARK Florida. The link for both organizations is in the description of the video. If you in this reptile game in any shape, form, or fashion, especially if you're making money off this reptile stuff, if you're not supporting USARK, you're a sucker. So make sure you're supporting USARK and USARK Florida. The link for both organizations are in the description of this video, so make sure you tapping in with them. Make sure you also tap in with me and the homie Matt from Ebony and Ivory Reptiles in the Double Clutch Patreon. Join today, man. The community growing, man. We having a blast, so definitely tap in with us, and also tap in with all the shows on the Herp Collectors Network: Conjure Corner, Retic Rundown, The Moat, Grow House, Clutch Conversations, Double Clutch, and Morph Map. Be sure to check out Sunday's episode of Morph Map. You're gonna be focusing on the redhead gene. Got great balls of fire and also got best dressed balls. Gonna be a real good one. So Tommy and Brian, they're gonna kick it with them. Gonna be a real good show, so make sure you checking that out. Hey, we're gonna pay some bills real quick, then we'll be right back to say what's up to the folks in the chat. Join Canova's Patreon today and get access to hundreds of hours of exclusive educational content designed to help you run a successful BallPython business. Get insider information on the latest genetics, hot new combos, and market trends, learning directly from the world's leading BallPython designer. With 5 benefits packed tiers, you may be asking yourself, which tier do I join, Bit Mike? Well, if you're on the fence, I'd recommend the student tier. When I first joined the Patreon almost 4 years ago, this is the tier that I started on, and it's only gotten better since. So don't delay. Join the Canova Patreon today.
Art comes in many forms. At Armless Angels, it comes to life.
In life, success doesn't come to you. You go to it. In this game, forward thinking is the key to innovation and staying relevant. Plan your work and work your plan. Lose yourself in the art. Lose yourself with wetter morphs. Y'all make sure y'all tapping in with the sponsors, showing some love. Appreciate y'all's support. Let's see who we got in the chat tonight. We got Casey. What's good, brother? Good to see you. Got wifey pulling double duty. 352 in the building. Brian, what's good? Heathen Hatchery in the building. We got the homie Big Matt in the building. What's good? What's good? Jamie, what's up? Appreciate you coming out. Hogalicious in the building. What's good, fam? Appreciate you sliding through. We got the homie Ash Morphmind in the building. Salute to you as well, homie. We got Daniel in the building. Big time supporter, man. Appreciate you sliding through. We got Travis from TNS Reptiles. Appreciate you coming through. We got the homie pulling double duty. Gonna get to the show in just a second. We got Dickie Foster in the building. Appreciate you coming out. We're gonna stop it right there, kick the intro, then we'll be right back.
Baby, won't you listen to me? I got that flavor. I know you're dying to feed. I ain't no dancer, just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. Ooh, you bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll add the fuel. Follow my lead, just watch your shoes. Gotta turn the heat up to get this cool.
Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this?
What's good? What's good? What's good, bro? How you doing?
Doing good, Mike. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yes, sir. Good to have you on again.
For sure, for sure.
So what's been popping for you this week? Been a busy week?
Busy week, man. Summer started officially today with the kids. So, with that, just staying home with the kids, them keeping them busy, finish up the school year. Keeping the breeding season going on. It's basically hatching, waiting for some double clutches.
Nice.
Busy season. I got a Repticon Tampa this weekend. So
Okay.
tomorrow, pack the car, make the drive up.
It's been a hot minute since I've been to a Repticon. A hot minute. I used to go all the time, probably like 2 years ago, whatnot. I was going all the time, but it's been a good little bit since I've been to a Repticon. I want to say that Tampa Repticon was the last one that I went to, but don't quote me on that. It was either Tampa or Orlando.
Okay. Yeah. I like Tampa. Tampa's one of the bigger, more foot traffic ones. So that's a good one to go to. Been doing the Repticons. It's been helping me out a lot, get my name out there, make new customers. That's the biggest thing about, just connecting with people.
Out of the Florida Repticon shows, what all ones do you do?
I do a little bit of everything, man. Right now I have I've been doing one Repticon a month.
Okay.
So a lot of Orlando, Tampa, anything from West Palm and above, I'm doing most of them.
Okay, where are you based out of?
Miami, South
Miami. Okay, yeah. Gotcha. I feel like you just kind of blew up in the hog game, man. So everywhere I turn, man, I see your stuff, and I know you producing some really nice stuff. I know you getting your name out there and all that good stuff. So talk a little bit. Let's jump right into it, man. Talk about some of your keys to success, and why do you think you've been able to get as far as you did? What to me seems like a short period of time, but I know it's a lot of work and whatnot that goes into that. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man. And you know what? And it has been a short period of time, man. I tell people I'm still new. I still have a lot to learn. And I think that's one of my main keys to success. And it's I'm willing to learn every step of the way. At 36 years old, had a career. I've never been a person that says I know everything. I can't learn. And I think that was the first step for me, was reaching out. And luckily I have two of the best breeders that could be around for Hognose. They've been doing it for a decade plus. And I got really lucky with just where I'm at, right? And messaged them, offered.
Who was that?
So I first got in contact with Exotic Firehog, Eslin. He's been in Reptiles. He's a South Florida local. He's been in reptiles since he's, you know, been able to walk, I guess, you know, here in South Florida. But he's done a whole bunch of different species, you know, geckos, cresties, different chameleons and stuff like that. And then he found Hognose, and he's been doing that over for, man, probably like 12, 13 years or something like that. So he's been doing it for a while. And man, I hit him up to buy some stuff, welcomed me with open arms. I bought some stuff, and then picking his brain here and there. And I offered my services, man, to just go and clean, help him organize stuff. And bro, I was like, whatever you need, I'm here to help. I just want to learn, you know. And through that process, it wasn't like, hey, I'm here to teach you this and that. Through that whole process, I just learned, right? I sat there, and you know, we were about the same age. We have family, and we just clicked, you know. And through that process of me just sitting in his room, cleaning and looking at animals, because that's the biggest thing, right? It's like you look online and you look at morphs and combos, but seeing them in person is totally different, you know. So that just going through tubs, open them, looking at them, you know, was like I would take them, look at them, clean, and start, you know, compiling like knowledge. Okay, well, this is what this morph looks like. You know, this is what this combo looks like. And again, never afraid to ask questions, man.
How long did you do that for?
I did it for a good year, man. I would go up there, and it's crazy because like when I first found him, I go, oh, he's like 30 minutes away, but he had moved further up. So he was about like 45 minutes to an hour with traffic. And I was still doing a full-time job, and I'll go up there at least 2 or 3 times a week for a whole year, man, nonstop every week, you know. Built a friendship, and from there, man, we done shows together. He's taking me under his wing, showing me projects and stuff like that. So that I tell people, it's like success is just work. That's all it is, man.
100%, 100%. It's funny how like those relationships develop. Like you never know, right? Like for example, I run real tight with like Matt from Ebony and Ivory Reptiles, Steven from Wettermorph Constrictors, Jason from Ancestral Royal Pythons, Justin from Armless Angels. And it was one of those kind of things where the friendships just developed naturally, focused around like reptiles at the beginning, you know what I mean? And still obviously around reptiles, but then you find like so many other like common threads, and you like start building on that. And so you got more and more threads, and you just kind of like weaving together like that friendship, you know what I'm saying? That friend group. Like I came across Matt. Matt posted, and this was like probably like 2021, because we got in like 2020. So it was probably about 2021 when I was really starting to make investments in ball pythons. And Matt posted a snake that he had from Ozzy. Like it was like a powerhouse pied female. And so I remember seeing it. I was like, oh yeah, dude, on the same type of time I'm on. And so I reached out to him because I think he posted like a YouTube video or a post. I can't remember exactly what the platform was or whatnot. So I reached out to him, hit him up. We started talking, and we just kept talking more. We started joining like some of the same Patreons or chat groups and stuff like that. Then he introduced me to Justin, who introduced me to Unc, and then Jaffe came into the fold because that's the homie too. It's just crazy how it all came together. And then Jason, knowing him, I mean, we both in Florida, so we crossed paths, you know what I'm saying, at shows and stuff like that. And then Jason came into the fold, and it just grew, man. So it's crazy how that stuff happens. That's one of the good things I feel like about the reptile industry, is kind of like really kind of like finding the tribe that you can vibe with, and just building on that. Yeah, what about the second mentor? You mentioned 2 people.
Yeah. And then and then through him, I met his name is Jamie, J&C Hognoses. And he's even closer. Like, man, he's like 15 minutes away from where I live at, right? And he's been doing it even longer than Eslin. So I met him through Eslin. He's one of those guys, man. He's been doing it for a long time, but he's a little more private and stuff like that. So like, if I wouldn't have met Eslin, I wouldn't have met Jamie or made the connection. I would have met Jamie, but not made the connection there. So he also helped me out, helped me out with, I was able to get in and look at some, adult animals already, or almost close to breeding animals, and was able to pick up some nice stuff, right, from his lineages. And then work those lineages, even though they're like basic albino, there were still like very nice coloration pattern lineages that he was only mainly working, and I was able to now get into my collection, and I'm working them as well. So now we're, we're going to work that lineage together and try to bring it back and make it stronger and stuff like that, and bring it into more combos and stuff.
Word. So from those two mentors, like, what would you say are some like the most important things about this that you learned from them?
Man, with the reptile thing, I would say that there's not one perfect way to do things, because they both have, even though
say that again, man. Say
there's
that
no one
again.
perfect way to do it, man. We're all three here in South Florida. As in Jamie, they've been doing it for years. They have different ways of, substrate, different ways of incubating, all that stuff. There's still the general, right? And then you run with it and figure out what works best with your environment, your style of keeping, your time wise, all that stuff. And I was able to pick up a little bit of the husbandry part from each of them, and then adjust whatever I think. And then one of the biggest things, man, especially with Eslin, is that even though he's been doing it for a long time, he's still learning. He's still willing to learn. And like, we'll talk and it's like, oh, what about this? What about this pairing, or what about this husbandry together? We'll talk about it. And he said, like, he's learned from me just as much as I've learned from him. And just in general, just like the new, sometimes, right, like the fresh look of things coming in sometimes helps out. And then in no way, like, I haven't reinvented nothing, just adjusted it to what I like it and how I do it. And I show them, my friends now, hey man, I'm doing this and this and that. Some stuff they've picked up as well, right? And I think that's a big plus when even somebody that's put in all that time is still willing to learn. I always say these animals that we keep, nobody knows everything about them, not one person. So having that community that you could bounce ideas off, bounce advice off, is so important in this.
100%. You said something dope right there, in terms of a fresh set of eyes, a new perspective and whatnot. I find that super valuable, just to like bring in like new eyes. I mean, not just in the reptile space, like really in all walks of life, because people ask questions about like what you're doing and why you're doing it, and that forces you to think through the why, right? And sometimes you just do stuff because it's the way you always done it, or you learn it from somebody, but it forces you to really like actually think through the why. And sometimes this person can bring a new idea to the table that you might not have thought about, and you start working that in and it make you better. Or you know what I'm saying, you can justify it and you can explain the why, and you can teach them, and now they know the why. Because at the end of the day, the why is really the most important thing, in my opinion, as far as like actually understanding what it is you're doing. Were there any other big takeaways from working with those guys?
That I say, and then also too is just the breeding process, man. With Hognose, you got a brewmate, so that's another big part, right? Learning that process was very important, seeing it firsthand. Like I say, in that 1 year, I learned what I probably could have learned in 3 years, just because I was just there and asking questions and able to absorb it. Yeah, man. Really like put in my head down and just doing the work. And like you said, you find your people, man. With me and Neslin, especially, like we're really, really tight. And if he calls me up and it's like, yo, this show's going on and we've done it, it's like, let's figure it out. Let's jump out together and let's do it together. Right. Like, I know he's one of those people is like, you call him at 2 a.m, he's picking up and he's helping you out and stuff. So, and the give and take of stuff, it's so important too, because, he did take my help to go clean and stuff because he was working a full-time job. Now he's full-time reptiles. We were both.
Are you full-time too?
Reptile as well. Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. And then, and I tell people I'm full-time reptile. Luckily, I was in Marine Corps and stuff like that. And I have, my military stuff too, that helps me out. But this is what I do full-time, day in, day out. And that's another thing too, that has pushed me into the next, has skyrocketed my, my success and my, putting my name out there, because I'm able to put so many hours into this. Right.
Yeah.
I was telling them, we're talking about kids backstage and stuff. I was telling my daughter, it's like, you know, hard work outworks, talent every time.
Oh yeah, every time.
Every time. So somebody that, has been doing this for 10 years, but has been doing it part-time. And then somebody says, I'm just gonna do it for 5 years, day in, day night, can catch up that quick, and stuff like that. So I always tell people, it's like, work as much as you can with what you love, and that's another thing too, where this reptile thing, it's what I love. This is really like, when I found it, was something that really called to me. And I
What was
left
it about it that really called you?
Man, I just think just the connection of being able to sit and watch these animals, work with them, it's just like a zen time.
Yeah,
and that has really helped me out. And I made a podcast, and I did a solo, I think, earlier this year, and I'm a combat veteran and stuff like that, man, and I have PTSD and stuff like that, and been dealing it since I got out the military, and there's different ways to cope with it, this and that, but being able to come in this room, work on my own, have less outside influences in what I do in my day to day, has helped me out so much. Just like I tell you, it's just Zen time, man. Come in here, work, and bro, I'll sit here in silence sometimes for hours just with the animals, and I'm like that. I'm like, my wife tells me I'm that weird person too. Like, if I go on a run, I don't listen to nothing. It's just me in a run too, and stuff like that. Just like, I like silence, and it's just the quietness. So, the animals don't talk back, they do their thing. You watch them. And I think that's another plus of it too, is if you really sit there and listen to the animals and watch them, you learn so much from them.
Yeah, it's funny you say you like doing stuff in silence. I kind of go back and forth. Like, I'm a big music guy, and so sometimes, like, I need the music, I want the music, and the music just really adding on to my vibe. But then there's other times, like when I ride in the car or whatnot, I don't feel like listening to music that day, and so like I'll just ride in silence and in my thoughts, right? So it's not technically silence; it's my thoughts still going on, but I don't want like no outside interference, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man. And I think we all need that, especially with so much we got going on in life nowadays, especially doing stuff like we do with the social media, the podcast, all that stuff. That silence is important sometimes, getting, grounded yourself, really thinking about what you need to think about day to day is very important.
Even like taking a break and like balance is super important. And it's been one of the things that like I've battled with. Like with all this, right? You know what I mean? Like working full time, like technically more than full time. The animals, I mean, that's a full-time gig. Social media, that's another gig. Family, I mean, it's like a lot of different kind of things you're juggling. And so sometimes I just need to kind of like pull back and take a break too, and just really kind of decompress, if that makes sense. That's really what I feel like is one of the secrets to longevity, is knowing when, hey, it's getting to be a little bit too much. Let me just kind of chill, you know what I mean? Get my thoughts together and then hit it again hard. You got to take a breather, right? It's just like when you're playing, it's just like when you're playing sports and whatnot. You got to take a breather. You can't go full speed the whole time. You got to go get some Gatorade, go do something, get some water.
And that's another reason I love Hognose, man, because of the brumation process. Anything that I hatch out and I keep all the way to my breeders, I put it in the brumation for 2 months, and I have my workload, goes down about like 90% for 2 months,
That's dope.
So it helps out a lot of like that reset. The animals reset, I reset, and then January comes by and ready to hit the ground running again,
like a nice little reset ritual.
Yeah. I tell people, like, it's like the animals roommate, I brewmate too.
Right.
Yeah.
A bromate, if you will.
Yeah.
What was I about to ask you? Oh yeah. So how long did it take you to go full time? Man,
I did full time once I produced my first animal. So about 2 years. I produced, once I had animals on the ground, I said, hey, I'm gonna go full time.
Was the animals on the ground, or was that the trigger, or was it something different?
No, something different, man. The company I was working for, just didn't. I didn't feel like they valued my work and stuff like that. I was doing project management, so I was like, you know what, I can go do it my own. So I freelanced for a little bit too. So I was doing that. I was doing the reptiles back and forth. I did like freelance for about a year, and then the reptiles. And once I started doing shows and reptiles start moving and this and that, I could just do reptiles full time, and that's when, things started really, all right, now I really need to invest more into the animals, actually invest into genetics and higher end stuff. Once, when I said full time, because if you're full time, you can't stay stagnant. If you're a hobbyist, a full time hobbyist, and you're just gonna hatch some clutches, sell them here and there, and you're not, doing it full time, you can keep the same projects over and over again. But what I've seen is, for full time people, you have to keep going. You have to keep it going. If not, you get left behind.
100%, 100%. So when you did decide to go full time, you pulled the trigger, you made the call or whatnot. Like, emotionally, how was that for you? Like, were you scared? Were you 100% certain? Like, did you kind of go through like a bunch of different emotions? How was that for you?
So my wife, tells me I'm optimistic, to a fault. I try to, with the things I've experienced in life and, through the military and stuff like that, man, I try to look always at the positive of life, right? Understanding there is negatives, nothing's perfect, right? So I went in, I was like, and I know myself, it's like, I'm gonna make this work, no matter what, I'm gonna make it work. So when I did it, it was more of like convincing and putting my wife to ease about the decision, right? Than myself. I was ready to like hit the ground running, dive deep into it, and that's it, right? No looking back. Now, when reality hits, right, when you have animals sitting and things are slow and stuff like that, I'm gonna tell you, there's moments it's like, never have I thought I was like, I can't do this no more or I'll get out. But there's moments like, all right, what do I need to do to rethink what I'm doing currently to move, to have some animals move? And, one of the biggest things was, big shout out, another, friend that I made through the reptile world is Emilio via the reptiles. Meeting him at and this is like, right, the reptile world. The way I met him was because we were at at FWC meeting down here.
Okay.
This is like maybe like 3 years ago. We met each other, we talked, it was like, we're both in South Florida, hit it off from there, and became friendship too. And, he invited me to go vend Repticons. One Repticon, he was like, hey, would you like to vend? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And from there, that's when like the vending hit the ground, like, vending a lot more often, moving animals more often and stuff like that. I tell people right now, if you're only expecting online sales, and this is what I've seen personally, it's hard. It's hard to just wait on online sales and wait for somebody to come find you, right? That interaction that I get with a person face to face, it's so much better, right? Because usually when people go online, they see a picture of a snake. That's all information to get, and a little bit of description, right? Where when you have somebody in front of you, you can ask a lot of their, answer a lot of their questions. You can ask questions about what they're looking for, all that stuff. Whereas then instead of almost a one-way conversation where you're waiting for the customer to respond, stuff like that.
Yeah, so, a lot of stuff get lost through text too.
For sure, man. And I think the Repticons have been good for me since I'm newer, man. Building my customer base, moving lower end animals to first people that are coming into the Hognose world, either if they're already reptile keepers or brand new, has helped me out a lot as well. And then I have sold, some higher end stuff because I have a mixture of things where it's pet level for Hognose up to, breeding stuff. And having that mix of things has helped me out as well, keeping, the wheels going.
Gotcha. So I like to learn about like the cultures, like the little subcultures within the different species of the reptile hobby, reptile industry, whatever you want to call it. So talk about like the hognose culture. Like, what's that like? Let's talk about it, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, man. With the hognose culture, what I came into was pretty open arms. I haven't had any negative interactions with anybody, either with animals, I've bought, I've sold, none of that stuff. It's, and I'm going to say there's never going to be one, because with the quantity comes, there comes issues and stuff like that. After so many years, something's going to happen. Right. But so far, at least the community has accepted me, has helped me out, with, I think a lot of the people that have been breeding hognose for a long time are well established. A lot of them I have friendships with, and we go, and when they're traveling, or if they travel down here, we meet up, have dinners and stuff like that. We're all about the same age as well, so that helps out a lot.
Okay.
And then with the hognose community, the biggest thing with the hognose community is biosecurity. And keeping everything clean, making sure you're selling healthy animals, right? With any animal, that's what should be an important part of it. So, man, like I said, I haven't had any really bad experiences. I think in anything, there's going to be cliques, right? There's going to be people are going to have their own little circles and stuff like that. I purposely stay away from any drama.
That's a smart move,
man. I know sometimes maybe because of the podcast that I have and stuff like that, and my social media, maybe some people want me to comment on things, but if you want my opinion, come ask me. Let's have a personal conversation and stuff like that. I always think I'm a grown man. We can have straight one-on-one conversations, and let's figure it out together and stuff. The telephone game is the worst. Publicly posting something, subliminal, or calling somebody out. To me, that's not my style, right? If I need to say something to you, going straight forward, or you need to say something to me, come to me, right? I think that avoids a lot of the extra drama that comes with when things, happen or gets misunderstood and stuff. Like, I think that's what happens a lot of times, is misunderstandings between people.
Yeah, it's best to talk stuff out.
100%.
So are there any hot topics? I mean, aside from biosecurity, are there any like hot topics in the hognose space?
So, man, one of the biggest hot topics right now is going on is genetics, right? In hognose, we have currently about like 20 between recessive, most of these recessive stuff. We have 2 incomplete dominants. The rest is recessive and like line breeding, line bred traits. So the biggest thing right now is there's a combo called Frost. So it's in hognose a hypo. So there's Evans hypo, and then a caramel combo is a Frost. And there's some weird things going on with the solution, the outcomes that come from the pairings. So that's one big hot topic right now going on. It's like people that are hatching Frost clutches, see either weird things like, and I had that first experience this year too. Finally was able to get some Frost animals. And one of the weirdest things is I bred a visual Frost male that was het albino to a female that was triple het. But the animals that were visually Frost complex all were actual double visuals, no single visuals in the clutch. And then some people will get like only single visuals sometimes of either of the caramel or the hypo. So it's a weird solution. It's like, well, if I got 4 or 5 Frosts, why didn't I get at least 1 caramel or 1 hypo, right? And then I did get albino visuals, but that's it. So it's one of those weird things. Like it's recessive because I proved out heads from a female, and we don't know exactly what's going on. That's why I'm a big
It's weird.
yeah, I'm a big pusher for the genetic testing. I want to know more, see where we can lock it in, and see what's really going on with the genetics there.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue into one of the things I wanted to touch on. But before we touch on the shed testing, I do want to take a real quick sponsor break, and then we come back and chat about that.
Perfect.
Known for his innovative approach to genetic shed testing and top quality ball pythons, Grey Rider Reptiles also excels in exceptional customer service and responsiveness. With a quick turnaround time, Charlie ensures you get the service you want and need. Visit shedtesting.com to explore his offerings and experience the best in the business. Don't miss out. Head to shedtesting.com today and unlock the power of your breeding projects.
Peace and love, family. We invite you into the heart of our serenity, Ancestral Royal Pythons. At Ancestral Royal Pythons, we're not just breeders, we're nurturers of love and growth. Each of our high-end ball pythons is a tribute to the grandeur of the natural world and our dedication to quality. Reach out today and bring one of our creations into your home. This is Ancestral Royal Pythons. Your journey begins here.
Here's to the exciting world of Ebony and Ivory reptiles. From unforgettable parties and events to keeping and hatching some of the dopest reptiles in the reptile hobby, we're all about education, quality, integrity, and respect. Hit us up and see how we can help make your next project a reality. Experience Ebony and Ivory Reptiles, where fascination meets fun.
Ebony and Ivory Reptiles.
Appreciate you, fellas. Appreciate the sponsors. Y'all make sure y'all checking them out. Shed testing. So I know you had RGI on the show, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I do want to watch it. So are they doing some work in the Hognose space with shed testing?
Yeah, man. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have a handful of shed testing for Hognose.
Okay.
So I'm really excited for that. Right. There's two double-edged sword, right? Somebody that's deep into a project that's pushing something forward, that wants to be the trailblazer of it. Sometimes, you want to keep the leg up of not having to, having other people be able to test pos head animals, 50% animals and stuff like that. But to me, I think it's going to help out so much because it's just mis-IDing things. Like for us, our one of the incomplete dominants that we have, the Arctic gene, the single form sometimes is very easy to tell, and then sometimes very hard. So I think that's one of the first tests. I'm not sure exactly what tests they're going to have at first, but that's one of the first tests I think that we should get. So when you sell those animals, especially if you're not breeding a super form, the super Arctics, if you're just breeding an Arctic to a normal, you can guarantee that the animal is Arctic instead of guessing. Because there's a lot of times that, even the people that have been doing it for a long time, it's hard to ID an Arctic single gene one. So I think that's should be at least one of the first genetics that's come out.
Okay.
So, you
Have
can
you been sending in tests? I mean, sending in sheds.
Yeah, I've been collecting sheds and been sending them over for last year I started collecting sheds, and this year I sent a big envelope full of different genetics, testing, stuff like that. It's, I don't know how many other people are doing it. But I tell people just send in your shed. If you have anything, just send whatever you have because it'll help us out. And I have talked to a lot of other hognose breeders, and they agree with me that Arctic should be one of the top ones that comes out first. Maybe, I don't know if it is, so maybe albino will be the first one because it's the most common gene in hognose. But I think Arctic test will help out way more people be able to, be assured to sell an animal that it is Arctic instead of maybe because the Arctic gene is very powerful in Hognose. The super form, sometimes you get basically a black and white snake, with no extra genetics if is a super form. So a lot of people want to put that into different recessives.
Gotcha. How many incomplete dominants did you say y'all had?
We have two.
Two. So do both of them have like a visible super form or?
Yeah. So Super Arctic, it's mainly color disruption. It basically cleans up the background and will make the pattern darker, but the background lighter. Really nice super forms.
Gotcha.
Give me 2 seconds.
Okay. Big shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I see y'all with the comments and whatnot. Appreciate y'all showing love.
All right.
I think you might have said this and I might have missed it, or I might be forgetting or whatever. But did you say if you knew how far away they were from like coming out with a shed test?
Yeah, so it should be hopefully by the end of the year.
By the end of the year. Okay.
Yeah, by the end of this year. So we should have a handful of them, he said. And then the other super form is the anaconda gene.
Okay.
And that basically
that's the one I hear the most.
Yeah, that basically reduces the pattern, and the super form only keeps the head pattern, removes all the pattern on the body.
Okay.
So that one's pretty easy to tell, right? There's some like you're iffy, but that one's pretty easy. The Arctic is the one where the color disruption, just because of the natural color of Hognose, where they're, light browns to grayish.
Mm-hmm.
Single form of Arctic is sometimes difficult to tell, especially once you add like polygenic genes, which are really big in Hognose as well. We have like purple line, extreme red lineages, and all that stuff is basically just adding saturation of color to the background of the base of the Hognose. And once you add those polygenics to Arctic as well, it disrupts the coloration too. So, again, harder to tell.
Gotcha. What were some of your biggest takeaways from the episode with RGI?
Man, the biggest takeaway was just understanding how a geneticist views genetics. One of the biggest things is like, he says we have no true dominant gene in reptiles that has been recorded, right? And in the Hognose as well, we have people that say, "Oh, this gene is dominant," But him saying that, it's easily there's a handful of there's maybe 3 or 4 genetics that people say it's dominant, but he says there's no real dominant gene in reptiles that he has seen. So it's interesting to see that part. Or sorry, it wasn't dominant, it was co-doms, because we're talking about the wording of co-dom and incomplete dominant.
Right.
Where the incomplete dominant is the actual correct way of the genetic talk, right?
Yeah, I have to remind myself to say it. I was talking with Tommy from Inky Clouds, and she was like, just say ink dom.
Yeah, ink dom, yeah. Yeah, so that was really cool to talk to him about. And then just hearing him say it was we're coming close to Hognose testing. Even though our Hognose are such a small portion of reptiles right now, I think once we start genetic testing, once we find more genes that people are working on, it's gonna just elevate the Hognose community, and more people are gonna buy into it as well.
Gotcha. How are there any new Hognose genes that have popped up recently?
The newest one that popped up, it was a recessive, it's called the Swiss chocolate, and
okay.
It was, and it's crazy to say new, but I think I would say maybe about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
That officially is something.
Did it pop up from somebody's collection?
Yeah, man. This guy went in Switzerland. Swiss guy went and bought 2 Hognose from a pet shop, bred them, and he bought 2 normals and popped out. And it's one of the highest monetary values of a single gene right now in Hognose, right? So a single form male right now is between $4 to $5 grand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so for a recessive, so single recessive gene, and then it's a really cool one too because it's a segue to make a full black hognose. Like so that's really cool because with the super Arctic, I tell people with super Arctic, the hognose eyes are all black. The iris, the pupils is fully black. And then Swiss chocolate, it's a darker gene too. So with that, and probably adding a Xanthic super Arctic, you'll probably get a hognose that has black scales, black belly, and full black eyes.
That'll be dope.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure we're like, people that have been working with that gene for the last 5 years or at least 4 years. Where either this year or next year we'll probably see that combo come out.
Do you feel like shed testing will have any sort of economic impact on like pricing of hogs? Obviously, it's going to like speed up projects too, because I mean that's what it's done with BallPythons. It's sped a lot of stuff up because people can obviously test it, know exactly what they're working with, hold that stuff back, and then they can breed that stuff that's 100% hit instead of like just shooting your shot and seeing if you hit something.
Yeah. I think so. I think it's going to definitely affect, pricing on certain things that, people were, it's like Swiss chocolate, right? Not everybody has, $4 or $5 grand to drop on a single, recessive, gene, where if they buy 66 percenters, they can easily test it and get a hell of a deal, right?
Yeah.
And then produce some stuff. So I think it's definitely going to, what's it called, affect some pricing. But one thing with hognose, from even the beginning, the pricing has kept pretty well. Everybody, for the most part, everybody is on the same train of thought of keeping prices leveled out, right? Right. You'll get those random people that either need to move some animals for some reason. They'll drop pricing and stuff like that. You can't control that. But for anybody that's well established and stuff like that, everybody's pretty respectful with each other's pricing.
That's good. That's real good because it sucks to buy into a project and then like 6 months to a year later, the price just plummets.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I haven't seen that in hognose yet, like straight down. If you understand, economics and business, is supply and demand, right? The more they're out there, the less it's going to cost. And I think we're, going to go through a little reset. People are going to either think this is not for them and realize how much work really it is keeping reptiles and breeding reptiles. And then the supply will go down again, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of work for sure.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like I tell people, it's like keeping a handful of snakes, it's very low maintenance, right?
Yeah.
But once you start going to the breeding process, it's a lot of work. It's the feedings. I think that's one of the biggest things. The feedings is if you're not on that feeding schedule correctly, especially for ovulating and breeding females, they're not going to produce for you, or you might have less success because they need that extra energy.
100%. Like that's one of the things with reptiles that makes it easier, especially like when you first start. Like as you have some experience, you start to get wiser, or you should start to get wiser. But having a handful of reptiles, like you said, is just like a little bit of work. It's like really low lift, and so you're thinking to yourself, "I got this." And you take on a little bit more, and it's not really like incrementally that much more work. But then you start like adding incrementally, and then you look up and you're like, boom, it's a lot. And so then that start to really take like a significant amount of time. So it's easy to kind of get caught up in that cycle of just like acquiring and getting more. And before you know it, it'd be right up on you.
Yeah, man. And like one thing with producing animals, like holdbacks, right? It's so easy to just say, I'll keep this, I'll keep that.
Yep.
And in 2 seasons, it adds up quick. 10 animals here, 15 animals there. It's quick, man.
Yeah.
So that's cool to see.
Then you looking around saying, who got to go?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing with with these animals is, I tell people it's like, I still need to figure out what's going to be my magic number of like where I cap it out, right? Because I don't want to get, you know, I don't want to have the quantity of animals where I'm unhappy doing this, you know, where it becomes, when it eats away time from a family, then that's a problem, right? Because right now it's a good balance. I still have room to grow and stuff. Next year, definitely, you know, incrementally growing little by little.
How many clutches are you doing, like on average per year?
So this year I had 18 clutches.
Okay.
You know, and with Hognose, it's crazy because I bred 12 females, you know. And with 12 females, I have 18 clutches, right?
So 6 double clutches.
Yeah, 6 double clutches. Yeah. I have today, right before the show, I was feeding adult females, you know, just after the double clutch, getting back to weight. And then I just saw I had 2 females that laid like about like maybe 2-3 weeks after the initial, you know, cycle, and they look like they're going to their second clutch again right now.
Nice. So,
you know, I should have more eggs here while stuff is currently hatching. So
I kind of wish my girls would double clutch.
Yeah,
but I don't, because it would be so many ball pythons.
Yeah, man. And there's some things like last year I made like triple head stuff for my future breedings and stuff. And with that female, I was like, you know what? She didn't double clutch. It's like, I'm happy, you know, because sometimes selling heads is not the fastest movers. You know, you sit on them and stuff like that. People rather at least get a visual here and there. But for me, that was the best move because there was no available animals of those triple heads, or at least single visuals yet. Right. This year there is some now, but I put myself a year ahead if I would have waited for somebody to produce it. Right.
Right.
Especially the females. I kept mostly females back from that clutch.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, man. To your point, those holdbacks add up quick, fast, and in a hurry. And like you tell yourself, I'm gonna let some of this stuff go. But then when it come down to letting it go, you're like, no, I don't really want to let this one go. I don't really want to let that one go. I'm trying to do better. But yeah, I definitely held back probably more than what I thought I was going to hold back this year. Like I got some gravel project stuff like with recessives in it, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4 girls, and I'm like, I can use those girls if I just hold on to them. So I think I'm gonna hold on to them. Then I go back and forth, but I'll probably let 1, maybe 2 go, but probably just 1.
Yeah, man. And one thing that I'm learning with with a couple of breeding seasons that I've had is having extra and backups. It's not a bad idea. Is as long as you can maintain them. With Hognose, egg binding is an issue. They're just small animals. They produce large clutches. So like on average, they're laying 15 eggs, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So the egg binding is an issue with them. And then with such large clutches and double clutches, sometimes they, take a little longer to bounce back and stuff. So with Hognose, I think having extra females is important. As same as having extra males. I think just having more possible things to be able to breed is important.
Yeah, backup's super important, especially on a project that you really want to push.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, the animals gonna do what they want to.
Yep.
And so if you're just relying on like 2 animals for something you really want to push, you putting all your eggs in like that one pair, as opposed to like having some backups or having a little bit more variety in that project so you can do it, especially like males too. Males is where I've seen it a lot. I've seen it with females. Obviously, females won't go, females reabsorb, whatever. But males is something that I struggled with early on, because coming into it, you always heard, get your females. You only need like 1 male for every 4 or 5 females in the project, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what if that 1 male doesn't go? And that's been the case many times, especially like for me early on, because I was trying to push younger males and they just didn't want to do their thing that year. So I have to wait to the next year. So having like a backup male and having backup plans, it helps, right? Because it's a numbers game at the end of the day. And so you want to give yourself some opportunities to push the projects forward, especially the projects you really try to push forward.
Yeah, man. And and then like, sometimes you have things for sale and they don't sell, and sometimes it's a blessing in disguise, man. I had that this season. I had, same clutch mates, same genetics, one on morph market and one that I kept. I kept a nicer looking one, right? For me, what I liked the most. And the other male didn't sell. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep them. I'm gonna keep both of them and see what happens, because we can say, well, this animal's really nice, either female or male. But what happens when the breeding really happens? It's a gamble still, right? And until you have those babies pipping out of the egg, it's still such a gamble. There's nothing certain until those, because you can get good eggs or you can get eggs in the incubator. Things can still go wrong even there.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you don't have snakes on the ground until you got snakes on the ground. Like, for real. Like, I've seen things happen in all stages.
Yeah, and that's like you said. Keeping males is important. And with Hognose, I've heard, one male be able to hit, be able to do 3-4 females, but I actually, one male to 2 females is the most I would push for my breedings. This year I did 1 male to 1 female, and I had good success. I have, I think, like an extra 4 or 5 males just that didn't breed this year because I just didn't need them, right? But it's good to have them in the backup.
100%. So what other species are you working with?
Oh man, so I have Madagascar giant hognose now, and those are really cool.
I don't think I heard of those.
They're from Madagascar. There is one gene that has popped up last year, I think, and it's like a xanthic anery looking thing, but they are big species of snakes. At adulthood they get about 6 to 8 feet long. Nice slender colubrid body and stuff like that. Very, one of those animals that you pull out and they'll get up, telescope, and look around and like scan their area. So it's cool to see them work. So really excited to have those. And one cool thing about them, they are communal snakes, so you can keep them in like trios and 2 pairs in 1 enclosure and stuff like that, and do perfectly fine. So I'm looking interested to get those up to size and be able to breed them. And we'll see what genetics happen with those. Those are really cool. And then I have Barron's racers as well.
I saw those, man.
Those things are super nice.
Insane, bro.
Yeah. I have a green female and then a blue male. And like the blue, like greens are beautiful, right? But the blue sets it off, man. It's like that baby powder blue.
Yeah,
beautiful,
like otherworldly, man.
It's beautiful. It's something you would expect only like in a venomous snake, right?
Yeah.
Those crazy colors. So it's really cool to have that. I'm still at least another year for my female to be ready.
Okay.
But just growing them up, enjoying the time. We have Kenyan Sambolas too.
Okay.
That's more of one of my daughter's projects, and whatever they like, and we'll pick up here and there sometimes. But those 3 species, the hognose, are always going to be the main thing. The Madagascar giants, if for some reason I think if we find more morphs, I think that's going to be a big mover. It's going to be a snake that's really going to get pushed in the future. But still, again, right, gotta find those morphs for more people to get in, because right now it's just, which I say just, but it's still like they have a variance of like black with yellow striping or speckling. Same thing with their bellies. Their bellies are like yellowish, pinkish colors and stuff. And I think having that bigger snake body is gonna, be interesting to keep once they get bigger.
Nice. So, what are your top 3 predictions for the hognose game?
Like just in what's going to happen and what we're looking at in the future.
Yeah.
Man, one thing I'm seeing is ball pythons breeders getting into hognose, right? So that's very interesting to see, right? After people that have been doing ball pythons for years.
Better watch those ball python breeders, man.
Yeah, getting into hognose, and that says something, right? From going from a species that's such well established, has such a popularity, and you can show if you put a panel of what snake a non-reptile person has seen, they'll probably point out a ball python, right? So it's interesting to see more ball python get into hognose. I think it's just gonna keep growing. There is those challenges, like I said, about the brumation. Some people don't, have a hard time doing the brumation or wrapping their head around for brumation. For the snake, it's easy. So if you follow the process, right? And then the egg binding stuff is an issue with that. But I think little by little, we're going to keep growing with that. And then genetic testing, I think is going to, like I said, going to push you to the next level as well, where more people are going to feel more comfortable, be able to invest in some snakes and some other bigger projects with a tighter budget. Like me personally, most of my females that I start off are hets. My visual stuff, either I kept from being produced, that I produce in house, or once I already had sales of my production, then I was able to move money into it and buy it. Right. So I always tell people, it's like, don't be afraid to start with hets. There's nothing wrong with that. I think, you have a lesser risk you're taking when, there's less monetary involved in it. Because at the end of the day, we're all spending money for this hobby, right?
Right.
And if you put a lot of money into it, you got to be expecting something. Unless you have money that is just, you're just using like water, right?
Right.
Hey, more power to you. But if you're putting money into it, you're expecting something. And I think the hard part is when you don't get that return, right? When you don't get what you expected, it really shakes people. Right.
So what about you, man? I know you got Tampa Repticon coming up. What else big you got coming up?
We got Tampa Repticon, and then the weekend after that, we're going to Reptile Nation Atlanta. So we'll be up there. That
are you gonna do Bob show?
Trying to, I put in my application, so we'll see. I really want to see what's gonna happen next weekend. This will be my first time going to Atlanta. I've heard hit or miss from other people, but I'm always one of the persons like, I'll take the input, especially for shows. I'll take the input of somebody. I gotta go see for myself though. I gotta set up my table and really see how it is. So we'll see with this weekend, and if this
have you been to Southeast Reptile Expo yet?
I have not. No.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna blow your mind, bro. It's gonna be like no show you've ever been to.
Man, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward. Like I've said, and that'll be perfect time because my stuff is hatching, so stuff from this year will be ready. And then like with stuff that I produced this year, I think I have like 10 animals left to sell. So the Reptile Nation, I was committed to it already, so I'm gonna go because I was committed to it.
Word.
But the Southeast show, it's falls with more in line right now with availability of the new upcoming year of this year's hatching. So
gotcha.
I'll be happy if I can get a table. I'll go up that way.
Yeah, if you get a table, man, and then you pull up there to vend, and when you pull up and they tell you to back up, and we'll help you unload your stuff.
Oh, bro, that's
you're right gonna be like, I'm hooked.
That's great. That's great, bro. Just that right there, right?
Just that right there, just that alone. Now, I mean, everything else is great too. It's a lot of fun at the show, but I mean, that alone is just like a lifesaver.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, man, got that Daytona again this year. Last year, I did Daytona for the first year, vended. Cool, crazy experience. That's like vending. From just going, Daytona's a lot of work to vend. The amount of people, setting up the day before, stuff like that, it's a lot of work. But going again this year,
quick too at Daytona.
Going again this year and see how it goes. and then just waiting for things to keep hatching. Got some one clutch that should be hatching in the next 2 weeks and stuff like that. It's one of the most anticipated clutches. Some hopefully hitting the triple visual there. So with
dope.
Yeah.
What's your eyes?
So it's I bred a so the frost het sable. So the triple visual is called a permafrost.
Okay.
So I got a frost het sable male to a triple het female. So well, actually she's 66 for 2 of them and 100% for 1 that I proved out last year. So hopefully I prove out the other 2 this year and hit at least even the double visual for like the sable with caramel or hypo will be beautiful.
Nice.
But right, hope for the best and shoot for the stars, right? Hopefully I get a triple visual there. So I'm really, really excited for that. And then that female is again about to go into a second clutch. So adding to the hopefully get another good fertile second clutch and adding to the odds.
Nice. That's gonna be dope if you hit it, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that'll be really good. It's one of those so I was talking about with the frost complex. It's one of those unicorn what's it called, combos to hit because of how the genetics is working.
Mm-hmm.
So to hit the triple visuals, and it's crazy. It's like when you hit big because you get a lot of them for some reason. So if I see one pip out of the egg, I'm gonna get a handful probably.
That's dope.
Yeah, so it's cool to see that.
How long does it take them to incubate? I mean,
I'm around between 55 to 60 days.
Okay, so around about same thing.
Yeah. I incubate, around 80 degrees. Fluctuate a degrees up and down. But yeah, 55, 60 days on average. And the crazy thing is about hognose is they hatch out so small, right? On average, my hatches are about between 6 to 8 grams, right?
Oh, wow, that's crazy small.
It's crazy small, right? So that's another thing.
Like pinkies or
I feed them
parts,
day old pinky mice.
Okay,
and that's another thing about breeding hognose too. Is to source day old pinky mice is not the easiest either. Because whenever the big breeders find them for either one of the big producers online, they buy out all that stuff because they're so hard to pick out. And they'll be on that for maybe a handful of feedings, and then you move them up to regular pinkies. But still, they're I sell my hognose about minimum of 10 feedings in, and they're just getting to pinkies there, right? So a month and a half old hognose is still under 10 grams.
Do some people feed them pinky parts?
Yeah, so I have animals. I have an animal that was 2 grams that hatched out, right? So right now I'm feeding him day old pinky heads.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'll pull a hopper tail off and feed him a hopper tail to see if because think about it, the pinkies, day old pinkies, a lot of water weight. There's no real protein and stuff like that. So I'll grab at least a hopper tail that has more more bone in it and throw it in there with them, and they'll usually take that as well.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense.
And when I tell people it's the hatching season is the busiest season, not just because you have to feed animals, the hognose, but another thing about hognose breeding is patience of feeding babies. There's still some babies that are picky where you have to scent to feed. They still, because naturally hognose eat a lot of amphibians, they eat fish and a wide variety of what's it called, prey in the wild. So I'll say about 10% of what I've hatched the last couple of years, I have to either scent with either canned salmon, water, canned sardine. Those are the big hitters. And then one of the last resorts is getting what's it called, toad, getting toad and scenting them with toad and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So it could be very feeding 100 hognose babies takes a while. Takes a while, especially when you got to dip every pinky in each scent, figure out which one likes which one.
Yeah, I can see that taking a hot minute. Cool. All right, bro. Well, it's been a great episode. I'm gonna have to get out here a little bit early tonight because I gotta hit it early in the morning, man. But definitely glad you slid through and got a chance to come on the show, man. It's dope. Always great chat with you. See you in a couple of months.
Yeah, for sure, bud. For sure. See you in Daytona.
Man. Yeah. And hopefully Atlanta. Hopefully Southeast.
Yeah, hopefully Atlanta. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah, might be back-to-back weekends.
Yeah. It's back-to-back weekends too. Sure, man.
Man.
And thank you for everybody that showed up tonight. Thanks for the love, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Big shout out to everybody that slid through, showed some love tonight. Big shout out to Replay Game, man. We appreciate all y'all who came through. Make sure you hit that like button too. If you hadn't hit that like button, please be sure to hit that like button. Really helps us out here on the channel. But that's going to do it for tonight for Clutch Conversations. I'm Mike, the lovely lady behind the scenes. It's the car. Thank y'all for coming out. Be blessed. Peace.
Hi, everybody.
All right, bro.